is the number to call. First up, let's talk to Andrew Teacher. He's the managing director of Blackstock. They're a corporate communications company. Andrew, thank you so much for joining us.
Hi there.
Hello there. Now, the reason we wanted to speak to you is about these adverts. I mean, we know that Wonga in the past has been accused of having adverts very much aimed at kids with these cartoon grandma and grandpa characters. And I'm certainly very aware that my daughter, the moment one of those ads comes on the telly, is instantly transfixed. But also these ads in the form of emails from the payday lender Pounds to Pocket being criticised and actually banned by the Advertising Standards Authority for basically encouraging people to go on, take out a loan to fund a nice big party on your birthday, as being irresponsible. How is that seen in advertising circles?
I mean, I think there's three groups that need to take more responsibility. And I think there's one thing which is a silver bullet solution. It's responsibility. I think you quite correctly say that the Advertising Standards Agency, the regulator for advertising, has come down hard on some of these things because they're inappropriate. They're pushing emotional buttons. And as you say, when you've got your kids clutching the TV, demanding the latest toy or computer game that you can't quite afford, that source of emotion does have a tendency to override the rational thought that most people would apply and say, actually, I can't afford this, you're not going to have it. I think the second group needs to be more responsible is the financial regulator and the government. And, you know, it is astonishing that in this day and age, you think of all the data everyone always holds about you, that, you know, that gentleman who you very tragically mentioned took his life. You mentioned he had 12 loans by 12 different people. Now, I find it personally very astonishing that can happen now where people can not know about it. And the recent experience I had was I took out a new credit card last year of American Express, and you know how they set up the direct debits that you pay the thing off and minimise your interest. So I did that, you know, thinking quite happily, like, no need to worry, they'll take the money out, and discovered a couple of months later that the idiots at American Express that set it up hadn't done it properly. So I had all these bills demanding fees and all this kind of stuff because I hadn't paid the stuff off. And I thought, well, hang on, I set it up, and they went back and checked the calls, and they found out I was right. Now, I didn't think any more of that until I went to apply for a mortgage this year to buy a new house. And sure enough, I did a little credit check, and it picked up the fact that I'd missed a couple of payments last year with the credit card. And as a result of that, ouch, indeed, it downgraded my credit status. Now, that's luckily, after much wrangling with Amex and people, I fixed that problem. But the reason I bring it up is because it's such a little tiny thing that someone on a computer had managed to track about me. Now, if they're able to do that, why is it not possible for people to be able to, somewhere in the midst of regulation land, where all these mythical things about our financial histories are maintained, why can we not have something which says, look, someone's already got a payday loan by one or two groups, no more, and that the computer does say no in a real helpful way rather than the usual manner. And I think, so in terms of the third final group that needs to be more responsible, it's us, it's people, you know, and to some extent we live in a society that is driven by credit, driven by debt. You know, if the British Retail Consortium's retail figures show less shoppers, then we think, oh, everything's bad. You know, if Tesco's or Sainsbury's or any supermarket shows less shop is bad. If house price transactions are going down, everything's bad. But all of these things are fueled by credit, and until we're able to put our hands up as people and go, actually, look, I've got to take responsibility here. It's not always someone else's fault. Then we're not going to move forward. And I think it's important that whilst, you know, blame is attributed fairly in the right circumstances, it's not simply used as a scapegoat for individuals to take responsibility for their own actions.
Well, this is it. It's in a way the wrong people, the people who are most in need, weirdly, the people who are targeted. Of course, they're the people who are most likely to either need a payday loan, not be able to get money elsewhere. I was wondering how you feel about, in terms of your work as a corporate communications expert, about the names that they're very sort of touchy-feely, nice, safe-sounding names, these companies. I'm just looking them up. Wonga, Quick Quid, Pounds to Pocket, Cash Hub, Cash Lady, Payday Lady, Cash Cow Now, Relax Cash. It's all very, you know, it just feels very nice and safe, doesn't it? And it's normalised and acceptable and you know, and a perfectly reasonable thing to go and do. Whereas, in fact, of course, most people, if they've got any sense, would steer clear.
But I mean, But you make the point, and it's a very. But the word I pick out for that is that it's all usual and reasonable. But we live in a society where you are seen as, socially, you're seen as a lesser part of society if you don't own a home. Now, buying a home requires taking on hundreds of thousands, often hundreds of thousands of pounds worth of debt. So, actually, in the context of Britain now, having loads of debt is a perfectly usual thing. It's a perfectly normal, accepted part of living. And I think that's a fundamental structural issue that we need to address, because, again, this is an issue because it's targeting the most at need in society. Now, the solution to that isn't necessarily to nip at the heels of the paid lenders. The solution to that is to deal with the fundamental problems that are driving people to payday lenders. Now, if they're going to payday lenders to buy expensive toys for their kids' birthdays, then I would suggest that is that person's responsibility. But if they are going to payday lenders to fork out for rent, for basics like food or utility bills, then that's a social problem that needs to be addressed through the welfare system, through government, and by focusing on those groups and the underlying causes.
Yes, you're looking at the wrong end of the problem. Andrew Teacher, really appreciate you joining us. Thank you so much for your words. Managing Director of Blackstock, a corporate communications company.